Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Rock Video Rental. I am Brandon, and with me, as always, is Caleb. And we are going to be wrapping up Horror Movie Month and talking about The Descent. But before we get to that, Caleb, have you watched anything good?
Well, I was on vacation part of the time since last episode and everything, and I kind of mentioned then too that had when you're on vacation, when you're staying somewhere, you kind of have the TV on in the background. So I caught some like Frasier. I caught some of the Sherlock Holmes TV show with Cumberbatch, Cheers and different things like that. I think the one movie that I actually watched, I can't remember if I mentioned last time, was one of the Mission Impossible movies. I don't know what one it was. Um, yeah, I can't remember which.
There's too many of those.
Yeah, there's too many now. It's not the new one. It's not the new one, and it's not the very last one. So
Okay.
somewhere in the middle. So, but yeah, not watching too much. Now, one thing I will mention real quick before I hand things over to you, because I think that you're gonna talk about Ravenous real quick.
Yeah.
I did go solo last week, and I did realize after I finished that I kind of made an error because we've changed our format on this show a couple times and everything, and there was
hmm
a point in time where we used to walk through the movie,
Yeah.
like kind of tell the story of the movie and then talk about it as we go. And I kind of reverted back to that on accident, and I forgot that because I don't know. There's no point in us walking through the movie because probably most people are listening to these episodes are listening primarily because they know the movie and they've seen it. So to walk through is kind of redundant. Um Specifically walking through it scene by scene. So yeah,
Yeah, you're flying solo.
yeah, it was
I think it's a good excuse.
it was not the best episode, but yeah, we got that up. But yeah, I'm interested to hear your quick thoughts on Ravenous. So
Okay. Well, I'll cover the few things I watched. Nothing like great. Continuing on with Shameless, I'm in like season 7 of that. I watched two Dark Side of the Ring episodes. I watched the one about Daphne and the one about Muhammad Hassan. Those are the two newest ones. Those are both good. The Daphne one's pretty sad. Um, I watched License to Drive for like the 80th time. I don't know. Just something to have on and just fun movie. I watched the movie The Changeling. It was on Joe Bob's Last Drive-In. That's from like a couple years ago he did that episode, but I don't know, I've heard so many good things about that movie, but I thought it was just kind of slow and I don't know, unremarkable, I guess. The acting was solid in it, but that's really about it. And the last thing I saw, my daughter and I went and saw the new Lilo and Stitch movie,
rock.
and I enjoyed it. It was pretty fun. I mean, I'm not like super experienced with the old animated one. I've seen
Hmm.
it a couple times, but I don't know. I see some people complaining about this new one. Oh, they ruined the heart and soul of it. And like, I feel like anytime Disney does any kind of movie, people just crap all over it.
Yeah,
There's gonna be people that crap all over it. I don't know. My daughter liked it. She's 6, so I feel like she's the
target market.
audience for it. So, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie.
Rocks.
And I also did watch Ravenous. Um, wasn't able to join last week, so I don't know. It was a first time watch for me. I enjoyed it. I thought the cast was pretty cool. There wasn't any like huge stars in it. You know, he had like Guy Pearce, who's probably the most known,
Hmm.
and then was it Neil McDonough, the guy who's the bad guy from Walking Tall with The Rock?
Yeah.
He's always a pleasant sight in movies. Then I always like to say this: former WCW champion David Arquette.
Yeah.
I just have a hard time taking him serious in movies, just because he always plays such a goofy character,
Hmm.
and he kind of plays a goofy character in that too. I thought it was paced a little too slow.
Yeah.
Uh, the stuff it did well, like the fight scenes, the tension and the chases through the woods were done really well. But sometimes it takes a little while to get to that. Um, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I'm not sure. I feel like it might be one of those movies I have to be in the mood to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was pretty decent. I ended up giving it um a 3.5 out of 5, just because that rewatchability, just because it's paced so slow for me. I feel like it's a movie that I would enjoy watching parts of more than the entire thing.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
I thought the acting was pretty solid too. Really, the just the pacing and some of the music was a little repetitive for me and a little too loud. Maybe it was just the mix that I watched.
Mm.
But yeah, enjoyable movie and nice to experience something new.
Yeah. And I will say, I said it in the episode, I'm not sure if you reviewed it yet, but the my memory of the movie was that it was more of a stalker horror kind of thing with the
Hmm.
cannibal guy, which there really wasn't much of that. Like that portion of the movie was very, very short. So yeah, it was
No,
it.
it was more of like a thriller, like a high tension thriller.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, it was a nice change to watch a horror movie that I haven't seen before. So it was
yeah.
appreciated. And now on to a movie that I've seen quite a few times, and we're going to talk about The Descent. The Descent. It is from 2005 and is directed by Neil Marshall. The plot is a caving expedition goes horribly wrong as the explorers become trapped and ultimately pursued by a strange breed of predators. The cast, we got Shauna McDonald as Sarah, Natalie Mendoza as Juno, Alex Reed as Beth, Saskia Mulder as Rebecca, Mayana Burring as Sam, and Nora Jane Noon as Holly. This is a movie I've seen quite a few times, and I actually saw it in the theater.
Rock.
And it was a really, really good experience in the theater.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, this movie is so atmospheric and claustrophobic
Hmm.
that it just played out really well on the big screen.
Yeah.
And this is one of the movies, like, I saw it like early on. I mean, it was 2005, and you and I both graduated high school in 2005.
Hmm.
So, I, gosh, I don't even, so I would have to know, like, what month this came out in 2005, or if it even came out in the US in 2005. But I remember seeing it with a big group of friends.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
I.
and I didn't know like a whole heck of a lot about it when I went to go see it. Just, I was like, okay, people lost in a cave, and it just kind of sounded interesting. You know?
Yeah. I I remember when this came out, to a certain degree because it was talked about so much. Um, not like huge, not like something like another kind of scary, more horror movie that was talked about a lot during around the time was Saw. That was like
Hmm.
the year before. But I do remember a lot of people talking about this one and saying how good it was. But of course, at the time, I wasn't really watching many of these movies. So, no, this was the first time watch for me. So, I'm not surprised it was as popular as it was. Did you see it as being super popular during the time or?
I remember all of us liking it, and I remember there being a fair amount of people in the theater when I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember exactly. It was so it came out in the summer of '05. So it would have been not too long after I graduated.
Okay.
Um, I just I remember everyone enjoying it, and then like even like walking out of the theater, usually you can hear people talking about the movie and stuff, and I don't remember anybody like saying it was crap or anything.
Yeah, and by saying like, I guess maybe popular wouldn't be the best word, but like it was a really good movie at the time. And doesn't mean that everybody saw it, but basically anyone that I heard say that they saw it and enjoys horror movies said that it was a really good movie. Um,
Yeah, and I think this is one of the few horror movies that Roger Ebert enjoyed.
okay.
I actually like just saw it not too long ago that he gave it 4 out of 5 stars.
Oh.
So yeah, he said it was a refreshing take in the horror genre, which I agree. Like when it came out, this was during the whole torture porn thing
Hmm.
and just gratuitous violence and gore. I mean, which this has a decent amount of gore and violence in it, but it
It's not,
relies
it didn't
more on
feel,
atmosphere.
yeah, it didn't feel excessive or like, because usually what I feel like when it's the torture porn style, like they linger on it too much. Where this one had it, but it was more like sudden and like, you know, fast moving, fast pacing, where a lot of that torture porn stuff, like I specifically think of Hostel and
Focusing
movies
on
like
it.
where they focus on it and like they basically like try to make you cringe and they draw it out. So
Yeah. And then like stuff from like Saw 3 on.
yeah, yes,
Yeah. Was this the first time watch for you?
yeah, yep,
Okay,
yep.
yeah. I wondered about that. That's kind of why I threw it in here because I was like, I bet she's never seen this movie before.
Yeah, quite familiar with it. I mean, like I knew about the whole thing that there was some sort of stuff in the cave and everything. Um, I think, well, I mean, I'm fairly confident that when they were doing previews and trailers for the movie and everything, they were, you know, giving away the fact that there were things living in the cave.
Yeah.
So, but part of me was wondering if some of it was going to before it really started getting crazy, and I think they were purposely doing it, and you can kind of give me your opinion, but like I was wondering if the whole thing was going to be in kind of essentially Sarah's character hallucinating
Okay. Yeah.
because she had it focused like, oh, she's taking pills, and they go and they're like, oh no,
She's
they're,
getting over trauma of losing her husband and her daughter.
yeah, and she almost got trapped in that part of the cave and she starts like having anxiety, and so like her body's probably going into freak out mode, and like she clearly has these kind of like episodes or visions or whatever you want to call them.
Hmm.
And so it's just like, are these some of those things? Because I didn't know if it was going to go the route of like she thinks things are happening and then she winds up getting her friends killed because of it, or if it
Okay.
or if it really happens, which very quickly you find out is really happening. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Which honestly is much better.
yes, I would agree.
Um, I think this movie really deserves a little more recognition than what it gets. I feel like it kind of gets lost in the sauce.
Mm,
Um, because it didn't really have, this came out at the time where any horror movie that was decent was getting tons of sequels.
yeah.
You mentioned Saw, and then even Hostel got 2 sequels. Um, and like Final Destination and things like that. Um, and this one only got 1 sequel, and it was very, very similar to the first one, and basically just like a less good version of this.
Hmm. Uh,
Which I mean, I remember the sequel not being that bad. It just wasn't remarkable in any way.
yeah.
Uh, so I feel like this one kind of gets a little bit lost. It's I feel like people who are horror fans look on it with, you know, they're pleased by it, or like enjoy it and
Hmm.
hold it in high regard. But like maybe people that aren't as versed in the horror genre overlook it a little bit. I feel like it deserves a little more respect.
Sure. Well, it is quite different than your generic horror movies where one, it's a group of women,
Hmm.
which I mean, I don't know really if that has any impact, but it's different. And then also it's not I mean you have plenty of those genres where there's like hordes of zombies or like hordes of I don't know vampires or witches or werewolves or something where there's more than one killer, but in this too like it's a group, which a lot
Mhm.
of times in your horror movies you have like, you know, one main killer. But
Yeah.
of course this wasn't a slasher. So it had a couple things that were different and did set it apart. So wouldn't surprise me if some people may have felt a little bit differently about it. But um, yeah, I felt like I don't know, like this. I feel like I'm going to get kind of into a nitpicky phase with this, but there were a couple things early on that like I totally caught on to, like the
Yeah.
whole thing with Juno and Sarah's
Hmm.
husband. Um, which was that necessary?
I don't think so. I even the first time I saw this movie, I like, because they have that whitewater rafting scene at the beginning of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of see like an interaction between Sarah's husband and Juno. So you kind of know. I think you're just waiting for the character to realize it.
Yeah. And it I don't know, it kind of when the movie was done I kind of looked at it and I was just like I get what they did there, but also at the same time I don't think it was necessary because like Juno could have accidentally killed Beth and it would have been like, oh snap, like when that happened I was just like, dude, she didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
And that's fine, like that happens in movies. Like I don't think Juno was necessarily a bad person. I mean, yeah, okay, she had a affair and everything, sure, but like if you took that out of it, other than you know Juno being confrontational or kind of a jerk, that she's not really a bad person. Did
Yeah,
you?
I think the main tension with that is that Beth wasn't dead, she just left her for dead.
Yeah. Which I mean, honestly, like, dude, who almost wouldn't like you got to spike
Right.
through the throat. So but yeah, I mean, because if that had been it, if there had not been um, if it had not been an affair,
Hmm.
like that still would have been a ton of tension there, where it's just like, oh dang, Juno got pretty self-centered and just left Beth, which I mean, probably 90% of people would have anyways.
Hmm.
But then, of course, the ending would have changed somehow. Like Sarah would not have felt the need to kill, or well, not kill, but basically like sacrifice Juno like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole affair thing wasn't wasn't even really, like you said, wasn't even really necessary for the plot. I mean, it had enough tension with them trying to survive in this cave that the one exit's closed off and there's these creatures coming after them.
Yeah.
That
Well,
was tense enough. They didn't really need that thrown in there.
yeah, and it's and like I guess in combination with my thought process on that is just like there are plenty of horror movies where like sometimes they have like the jerk person where you're just like, man, I hope they get their comeuppance, and then other times like they don't, like they just have a group
Yeah.
of people and they get killed. So I don't know, it felt a little like a cliche to me that they
Hmm.
threw that affair thing in there, and then also like the whole thing of like what is it? Live each day or whatever the phrase was or
Yeah, something like that.
something like that. And then it's just like, so you're telling me that the guy who's having an affair thought it was a good idea to put that on something and give it to another woman.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's like affair 101, like leave no trace.
It's almost like saying Caleb was here.
Yeah, like just put your name on it while you're at it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Oh man. Well, kind of talking about the women, um, and like having a mostly female cast, aside from Man, the husband
Yeah.
is the only one that's a man. Um, they did take some time to build the characters out a little bit.
Yeah.
Sarah's kind of like the tough, resilient one. She's the main character, and she's already gone through trauma, and you kind of see her change like throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get Juno's kind of like the reckless, selfish, kind of like bitchy character
Yeah.
a little bit. Then you got Rebecca's kind of like the gruff one. Holly's like the kind
Is,
of
is she the
butch
little
one, and
sister
she's like
one?
American. Huh?
Was she the sister, the little sister or something to somebody? Was that Holly
I
or
I don't
Sam?
know. I'm thinking you're probably thinking of Sam because they're the one that she's the one that they're all kind of like looking out for and checking in on because she's kind of like the innocent, cute, inexperienced one
Mm-hmm.
who's also like going to med school.
Yeah.
And then you got Beth, who's just kind of there.
Yeah.
That's what I had. I was trying to think of like what kind of trope she plays it out of. Like she's just kind of there.
Well, she was like Sarah's best friend, right?
Beth?
Yeah. Wasn't
Yeah,
she?
I think well, they were all kind of like really good friends.
Well, it seemed like Beth was like, well, because I think Beth was the one that Sarah ran to in the hospital.
Yeah,
And so they kind of built that thing where it's just like Beth is Sarah's security blanket, I guess, since her husband and daughter died.
yeah. And then she's the one that Juno accidentally kills.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I thought, with all the characters, all the actresses did a really good job.
Yeah.
There's no one that really stood out to me as being, the weak link. I thought they're all pretty solid. I think that Shauna McDonald by far was the best. Sarah,
Mm-hmm.
just because she showed like the most depth. And, starting off kind of, she gets the part where she's like kind of stuck in the cave, freaks out. And then it gets to the point where she's like the strongest one.
Yeah.
Because there's a part where she falls in like to that lake or pond that's mostly blood.
Yeah.
And then once she emerges from that, it's like a switch goes off and she goes into like survival mode.
Yeah. It was very, crap. Well, I can't think of the word. Like, uh, this is not the right word, but like picturesque. Like they were doing a very visual thing on kind of telling that part of the story of that transformation.
Yeah, she's like
There's
Stallone and over the top when he turns his hat backwards.
yeah, yeah.
It's like a
There's
switch that
yeah,
goes
there's
up.
there's a word, there's a term for it, and I'm completely brain farting out on it right now. But yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
use that visualization to support that transformation that was happening that you couldn't see on the inside. So they showed it visually in the movie, like she fell to her lowest and then she came submerging out as like this badass, I'm gonna kick everybody's butt.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to survive.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought this movie was paced really well.
Mm-hmm.
There's really not like any super slow lulls in it. It starts off with a bang, like with the car accident that kills the husband and the daughter.
Yeah.
And then, then we're getting thrown characters at us. So we're kind of, our attention's taken with trying to learn who everybody is. Then they go into the cave, and then, the whole claustrophobia thing sets in of the small quarters and the moving through tight spaces with water
Yeah.
in
I,
the dark. Yeah, no
we haven't
thanks.
even talked about that yet. Like, I'm sorry. Like, there's certain people are stupid. Like, why?
Spelunkers.
Yeah, I mean, like, I get the idea of like going into the big caves and going down there and everything, but going into those small spaces where you don't know what's on the other side.
Hmm.
Like, you're just like, oh, we're gonna go through here and we're gonna see what's there. And I just, it, here's the pretty funny thing thinking about it. So, um, I have a couple different friend groups like that. I would say like people know each other and everything. Um, but there is my high school friend group, and I just think and envision this where it's just like there is no way I would risk my life doing anything like that with that group of friends.
No.
Because if I got stuck somewhere, they would laugh at me and they would leave me. Like that's
Sucks to be you.
yeah, oh, see you later, dude. Good luck. Like that's the thing. Like you can't trust them. Like I
Yeah.
I have a relatively high level of trust with but here's also the other thing. Like I was gone on vacation last week. And my daughter likes those you know what aerial parks are, like the climbing parks.
Yeah.
And like it's full like you harness in and you go pretty relatively high up and everything. I can do that when I'm harnessed in something. I can do that. I have trust in that. Now, what these girls did in the caves where they relied on one another, no way. With my friends, with my high school friend group, like I'd start climbing down something and then they'd let go of the rope and be like, "Oh, sorry, my bad,"
Yeah.
and then somebody would break a leg.
Like that Holly chick.
Yeah, and then they would laugh about it, and they'd be like, "Well, now you got to get yourself out." Like it's just yeah. There are certain people that you trust and certain people you don't trust, and
Yeah.
yeah, most that group specifically, I know I could never try to do anything that adventurous.
Did you ever hear the story about the guy that got stuck in the Nutty Putty cave?
Mm-mm.
I can't remember exactly where that's at, but he got like kind of lost and there's like uh fizzers that like dead end
Okay.
and he got stuck in one upside down. He couldn't turn around, he couldn't back out,
Oh gosh.
and he was just stuck there. And he was trapped for I'm reading it right now. He was trapped for 27 to 28 hours before he died because of his position.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Imagine just being stuck there for over a day,
Oh my gosh.
not being able to move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you, well, first of all, that's why you don't do those things by yourself. Like, I don't
No,
know
he had
if,
people with him. They just couldn't get him out.
oh, they couldn't, like, so they knew he was there
No,
and, oh my
because he
gosh.
fell down like into this. He took a wrong turn, and then he fell down into this little fissure,
Oh, so
and
head
like
first.
yeah, so he went down head first, and like he was up to his ankles in the fissure,
Oh my
so they
gosh.
couldn't like get him out because there was no way to bend him to get him out.
Nope. 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 Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
no thanks.
Dude, there was so much of me during this movie, before like the things started attacking and everything where I was just like, nope, no way. Like, no, there's no like I will rock climb on a wall, or I will rock climb on the outside of a mountain. But why do I want to take that and add another layer to it by being like, oh, you're not just rock climbing, you're in a cave where you could get stuck somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah. No.
that in movies. There's this one called Turistas that came around out around the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a part where they have to like swim in these underground tunnels, and they have to like make it all the way through this tunnel before they can even come up to get air.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, screw that.
That makes me think of they remade the Poseidon Adventure. I remember
Hmm.
watching that one, and there was this part where they had to swim through a hallway that was submerged.
Yeah,
And so they had to swim like I don't know what it was, like 30 feet or some great length or whatever. And I'm just like, I could make, I mean, like you're talking about like a hallway, like a building size hallway that, yeah, had some debris in it, but was relatively open. I'm like, okay, I could, if my life depended on it, I could probably try to do that. But like when you're talking about what these girls were doing in the movie, especially that one part, um, with the water in the bottom of it, it's just like they can barely fit. Like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I don't know. Okay, long enough on that. Long enough.
uh, yeah. Yeah, so the whole claustrophobia thing really feeds into it.
Oh yeah, gotta
And
love
then
it.
on top of that, you got these um underground creatures,
Yeah,
humanoid creatures.
Did you should we talk about how like I was kind of confused about like what they were able to do and what they weren't able to do.
Yeah, they're blind.
Yeah, so they're blind, so they rely on sound, right?
Hmm.
And so usually now, okay, maybe let's not get scientific about it, but usually when your other senses go, like some of your other senses like get heightened and everything.
Hmm.
And so if they're relying on sound, like don't you think you could hear someone breathing a foot away from your face?
Yeah, probably.
Like,
Or even to the point you might be able to hear their heartbeat.
yeah. Also, um, now this could be maybe they didn't have any sense of smell. Like I'm talking about any sense of smell because if if we're getting technical about this movie, there's no way that none of those women did not have some kind of scent on them,
Yeah.
whether it be from shampoo,
BO.
lotion, body odor, perfume, some kind of scent. So like I mean it's very possible that basically they're saying the only thing that these things have are um the sense of sound. And so
Yeah.
maybe they can't smell anything. But that thought popped in my head where I'm just like, dude, if they have any sense of smell, there's no way that they can't
Well,
notice
they didn't really
something.
have noses. They kind of just had like slits in their face.
Yeah, and
So maybe they just couldn't smell very well.
that's why I kind of figured that they were leaning more towards from the idea that there's it's strictly sound based. So, but yeah, no,
Yeah,
I mean they.
they're almost like human bat hybrids. Because
Mhm,
they got kind of pointy ears and like flat noses, jagged teeth, and they're
mhm,
kind of blind and they rely on sound.
yeah, and they and it they did a good job with that. I mean, like they were creepy, believable, and everything. The fact that they reproduced was super weird.
Yeah.
I mean, which I mean, I guess you would have to kind of figure that they would, but
I kind of like the fact too that we don't really know anything about them.
yeah.
They're just like there. You don't know how long they've been there. No one knows about them.
Hmm.
So it's just the fear of the unknown as well. And then they kind of learn, looking at the eyes of that one dead one, it's like they're blind.
Yeah.
I will say that the last 40 minutes of this movie is just like frantically paced.
Yeah.
That's when, they gotta discover the creatures and then they start coming after them. So it makes sense for the pacing to be ramped up. Um, and just like all the crazy struggles and fight scenes. We get the part where she falls in that lake of blood and she comes out and the creature attacks her and she grabs a piece of an antler and jabs it into its eye.
Yeah. Well, and then also later, like she like I think it was her, maybe it was another one of the girls that was pressing her thumbs into their eye sockets.
Yeah. And then Juno snaps the one's neck.
Hmm. Well, not about killing the things, but one of the elements of this movie that um was more on the unique side, kind of gruesome, messed up side, was if I remember right. Now I'm kind of wondering if I'm remembering this right, but there was the one girl that got killed hanging from the ceiling,
Yeah,
and didn't one of them have to jump out and grab onto her, like
I think
to
so.
escape some of the things?
Yeah,
And so it's just like, dude, like you're reaching out and grabbing out and holding onto your friend's dead body.
yeah.
Like the weird things that they put these people in this situation in this movie, just more unique than most, you know.
Hmm. Oh, there are a few parts in this that I kind of laughed at this time around. I mean, other than some of the comical lines, but there's one part where they go to that one cavern or whatever in the cave that is just full of bones,
Hmm.
and they're using like the camera to look around. It's like, what is it? And it's like it's all animal bones, and then somebody's like, "This is not good, guys." I'm like, "Duh." Uh, and that's the one part that always makes me laugh, even the first time I saw it, is the girl with the crazy thick accent. I can't remember which one she is,
Hmm.
and she yells, uh, "Hello, is anybody there?" But her accent's so thick, she's like, "Hello, is there anybody there?" Always makes me laugh.
That's funny. I think that may have been Holly, but yeah.
No, Holly was the American one.
Are you sure? I thought.
Yeah, I I feel like it's Rebecca.
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe it was Rebecca.
I think Rebecca's the one that kind of looks like a young Dolph Lundgren.
Ha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She looks like she'd be Dolph Lundgren's sister.
Mm,
Uh, I think it might have been her. Because there's parts in there where you kind of, because it's so dark and everything's like in, because I think that scene is in night vision.
yeah.
So it's kind of hard to make out who it is, but I'm pretty sure it's her. It was either her or it was Sam, because she also had a thicker accent. Um, I think the most memorable scenes for me, the Lake of Blood. I already
Hmm.
talked about that one. When they first see the creatures, and then when they go like around that corner and there's just like 60 creatures coming towards them towards the end.
Yeah.
And they're just like pretty much like, oh crap. Yeah, that always sticks out to me. And also the scene where the girl burns her hand really bad on the rope
Hmm.
and it
Yeah.
cuts deep deep into her hand. I mean, anybody who's ever tried to like break a piece of fishing line with your hands and had it cut into your finger,
Oh, yeah.
like take that, multiply it by like 1,000.
Well, then also like the broken leg part.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yuck. I mean, it's good. They did a good job with the special effects on that one.
Yeah, they
So,
did.
yeah. Well, speaking of special effects, actually, so music was really good. Uh,
Hmm.
supported with the eerie kind of feeling of the movie. Kind of one of those music soundtracks where it does great to support it, but doesn't really like amplify it a whole lot. So just does a solid job. But the special effects, it did make me chuckle a little bit because it is 2005. And so you
Yeah.
can clearly see when they're doing like the special effects, like, would it be green screen or what's the, like the,
CGI.
yeah, there we go. CGI. That's what I was trying to think of, where you could clearly see when they were using that.
Yeah.
Which, granted, they did a lot that looked really good, but there were a few times when they used CGI and it was fairly obvious.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. And you could see like the effect that movies like Saw had on movies like this,
Hmm.
with the broken leg. Like, she could have broke her leg and they didn't have to show how gruesome that was.
Yeah.
Or, the pickaxe going through Beth's throat.
Yeah.
They showed that and like the gurgling and all that kind of stuff. But one I guess one part I didn't fully remember from the last time I watched this is when they're getting ready to go in the cave
Okay.
and Juno talks about how it's only like a level 1 and it's for like beginners
Yeah.
before we find out that she's lying about which cave they're going to.
Yeah.
And one of the girls is like, Jesus, Juno, like this is where we're going? And she's like, oh, it's not a big deal. We'll just rappel down. And the one girl's like, I'm an English teacher, not fucking Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
That cracked me up.
Yeah. I mean, I think it should have been fairly obvious pretty quickly that that was not a level one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah.
Well, it wasn't until they found out that they were in the wrong cave when it closed off
Hmm.
behind them. And then everybody's pissed at Juno. She's like, "Well, I wanted us to like discover it." I'm like, "What an idiot!
Yeah, I would have punched her in
Let's
the face.
kill all your friends
Yeah.
because you wanted to be special." Yeah,
Hmm.
I think that would have even been enough for like, and the fact that she accidentally killed Beth and then left her for dead.
Yeah, that you would just hate her character as a whole.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so the whole affair thing really does not feel like it was necessary, but
Yeah.
one thing that we haven't talked about yet is the ending.
Ah, yeah. I have something about that. There's
Like a
two endings to this movie.
facts and trivia ending or
No, just something to talk about. It's one of the things that people talk about a lot with this movie.
okay.
So the ending that we get, because I have the unrated version on DVD somewhere.
Okay.
Um, I watched it streaming this time, but uh, so the ending that's in this movie is the original ending from the UK because this is a British movie.
Mhm.
So we get Sarah buries the pickaxe into Juno's knee, and then she fights off the creatures, gets out, emerges from the cave, which is an amazing shot.
Mhm.
Like seeing her emerge from the ground, like covered in blood and everything. She runs to the truck, gets in the truck, drives like a maniac in it, gets out on the road, and then she has like a breakdown. And then she like pulls over and throws up. And then when she looks up, she sees like Juno, like blood over. And then she wakes up laying in the cave with the creatures coming towards her. And she sees like an apparition of her daughter with a birthday cake. And then
Mhm.
she seemingly dies. And then it goes to credits. So that's the UK one. Um, in the United States, when they cut this for distribution, they ended it right after she sees the bloody Juno next to her.
Okay.
So they don't have her waking up in a cave and seemingly dying.
Okay.
Yeah, which I do have stuff and trivia and facts for that, but there's a little more backstory of why they did that. But yeah, two endings basically. Um, I kind of like the downer ending. It's
Yeah.
different.
I like it too. I mean, I don't know, like I was a little bothered by I mean, I don't know. It's a little bit tough because it's like it works, but also like so many of the horror movies like doing that where it's just like, "Oh, it's the end. Oh, it's not really the end. Oh,
Yeah,
here's another ending." So, I mean, I kind of get it because it worked a little bit more in this one. I don't know. I'm not really bothered by it, but I am wondering if it was the strongest choice.
yeah.
Um and I'm okay with it. Like her not getting out. I mean, it was so powerful though, and like she emerged out,
Hmm.
and so it was just like, oh my gosh, yes, success. And then like they took it all away, and it's just like, oh man, like I don't know, all that emotional tossing and turning. So it was a lot.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster there at the end. A roller coaster of emotions. Um, man, I feel like we've covered pretty much everything. At least mostly everything in my notes that I got. Um, anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I mean, I've got some stuff to say with closing thoughts, but I think I covered most of the important stuff that I had written down.
Rock. Okay, so trivia and facts. So the scene where Sarah finds Beth barely clinging to life originally features some really bad dialogue. And the actors let that be known. Neil Marshall, the director, agreed, and the three went to a nearby pub that night before filming and rewrote the dialogue on a napkin. The
Hmm.
film's producer chewed Marshall out for it, but he also agreed that the scene was vastly improved now.
Huh. Weird.
Yeah. So 21 separate cave sets were actually built for the film.
Yeah.
These were carefully reused with different camera angles, set dressing, and lighting to suggest a nearly endless collection of interconnected tunnels and caverns. For realism, the makers often limited the lighting on the sets to light sources that the protagonist brought with them, such as flashlight, helmet lights, and light sticks.
Rock.
The filmmakers considered it too dangerous to film in an actual cave. It also would have been far too time consuming, so they opted to build one instead.
Yeah, makes sense.
According to the audio commentary on the special edition DVD, there was an exact replica made of Nora Jane Noon after the movie was finished. Oh, and after the movie was finished, she got to keep the head of the doll. Um, one time she put it in her mom's freezer as a joke.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The production on this film was fast-tracked so that the movie would be released before the similarly themed American film, The Cave. Unfortunately opened the same week as the 2005 London bombings, which considerably hurt the film's chance at the box office.
Bummer.
Yeah. The appearance of the creatures was kept secret from the cast until the first scene in which they encounter them. Um, when the cast were finally filming that scene where the group encounter the crawlers, uh, the actors were genuinely scared and screamed the building down, running off the set and laughing. So at around 1 minute, as stated in the cast commentary in a special edition DVD, Shauna McDonald, Natalie Mendoza, and Alex Reed did the entire whitewater rafting scene on their own without any stunt doubles or special effects.
Hmm.
Yeah. Neil Marshall shot many of the crawlers at 18 frames per second with a 45-degree shutter to give them a staccato movement.
Huh. Interesting.
Shauna McDonald was slightly claustrophobic, so she found it easy to act scared and panicky while she was underground.
Right.
Speaking of claustrophobia is a big aspect of the film's fear, but Neil Marshall had no clue how many people were affected by it until he started showing the film to audiences. Which I'd like to show this movie to my dad because he is kind of like claustrophobic.
Mm,
I remember we went to the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, and you have
okay.
to take like this little elevator trolley thing to the top of it, and it's really small. It's like the size of a small closet,
Okay.
and there's four, and like you can't see anything because there's no windows until you get to the top of the arch.
Hmm.
So you're just like seeing cement go by basically, and it's kind of dark, and there's like this tiny little fan in there. And I looked at my dad, and he's like, "If this fan stops blowing, he's like, I might throw up."
Oh gosh. Yeah, I wouldn't say
But
I'm claustrophobic, but this one definitely like out of a bunch of other movies that I've seen, like what's I don't know.
gut wrenching.
Yeah, it made me more uneasy than any other kind of movie that I'd seen. I was trying to think of something where somebody's like stuck or trying to crawl out, but
Yeah, it's like this and heights
mhm,
kind of get me. Um, there's that movie that came out a couple of years ago called Fall,
yeah.
where the two girls are stuck on that big radio tower.
Mhm.
That one was kind of gut wrenching for me. Made my
Yeah.
knees weak a few times. But so moving on. Um, this movie had a really cool poster of like
Yeah.
the girls in the form of a skull. It was borrowed from a portrait photograph by Felipe Halsman of Salvador Dali. It was entitled Salvador Dali in Voluptate Moors.
Okay.
So the photo itself was inspired by surrealist Dali's um, female bodies as a skull painting. The same imagery was also used for a poster to Silence of the Lambs.
Okay.
The cave entrance, shown from overhead, is actually CGI.
Hmm.
The young performer playing the child crawler also plays a child zombie in 28 Days Later.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And the last thing I got is this movie cost $4 million and it made 57 in the box office.
Rock.
So grades, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, what do you think they are?
IMDb. Let's go with 7.9.
7.2.
Oh, really? Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Rotten Tomato critic 80%.
87.
Close. Rotten Tomato audience 90%.
76.
Oh, what?
I don't know
Down.
why that's so low.
That's weird.
Like I said, I don't think I've ever met anybody that dislikes this movie,
Yeah.
but I'll let you go first this time.
Yeah. Yeah, so first watch, great movie. Kind of just echoing everything that we've already said, where like the pacing was good. They give you some connection with the characters. There wasn't really anything wrong with it or that could have been done better. The only thing that we mentioned, and it was a product of its time, was the CGI. Um, I just think that it's really successful. It has some unique elements to it that set it apart from a lot of other things. So I really enjoyed it. I think they did a great job with the acting overall, but then the special effects and uh, the creatures
Hmm.
um, were done fantastic. Because you could have had this movie and you could have done some things, and if it did, or if it wasn't done so well, it would have impacted the effectiveness of the movie.
Yeah.
Um, but they really nailed it out of the park. I'm, oh, I don't. I'm hovering between two ratings, and I'm not really sure what to give it. Like I'm at four. I'm between 4.5 and 5. Like I don't really think that there's anything that really takes it away where I would say like it could be better. And so I think I'm gonna land at a 5 out of 5. I was between 4.5 and 5 because it's just like I'm having a hard time thinking of like, okay, what's keeping it from being a 5? What could be done better with this movie? And
Hmm.
I can't really come up with anything, so I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5.
Rock. That is the same that I am at. Like I said, I saw this in the theater, and I feel like this is a movie that's a really good one to see in a theater. Just because of like, the visuals and I don't know, everything's so dark in there, and you almost feel like you're there with them. And it really adds like to the claustrophobia and everything. Um, I remember like as soon as the creatures like showed up, I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Like it gets nuts. And I don't know, I think it's one of my favorite horror movies of the 2000s.
Hmm.
And like I said, I feel like it's a little overlooked at times. Um, I think it's really cool too that like the entire cast is women
Yeah.
and they're not just like victims. There's a fair amount. You could you could easily say that all the women in this movie are strong women
Hmm.
who put up a fight and try to survive, and then you get the ones that last to the end. But yeah, it's just a really good horror movie that I feel like if if you like horror, then you should definitely check it out. But next week we're going to be starting a new month, and the theme of the month we noticed while doing nearly 350 episodes of the show that most of the movies that we've done I've seen. So we're going to do movies that Caleb has seen and I haven't.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Oscar?
That was one of them we did.
Yeah.
Um, no, we're going to be doing the first one is The Usual Suspects, which I've only seen bits and pieces of.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that one. Memento, The Princess Bride, and Gangs of New York.
Rock.
So, yeah, adding more movies to the list of things that I could see. So, this wraps up the horror movie month. Um, man, I don't know. Do we want to like rank them maybe? Because we always
Uh,
seem to do that with horror movies and stuff.
yeah, I mean, we can if you want. These are such a vastly different because usually when we do a horror movie month, it's like a theme,
Yeah.
and these are vastly different. So I mean, like if you want to, I'd be on board, but at the same time, I don't think it would be out of the question if we didn't.
Okay. Um, I guess I'll just do it off the top of my head. I think The Descent's my favorite of the bunch, followed closely by Dawn of the Dead, then Killer Party, Identity, and then Ravenous. Was such a good block of movies. Like all these movies I thought were pretty decent.
Hmm. Yeah, I would have to rank it with The Descent, then Identity, then Dawn of the Dead, then Killer Party, and then Ravenous.
Right?
So kind of similar, a few changes there, but our top and bottom were the same. So
Yeah. Well, rock. Yeah, so next time, gonna be covering The Usual Suspects. If you guys are liking the show, please subscribe and share. You can follow us on social media. We're on pretty much every platform. Got a lot of new stuff lately on YouTube. And yeah, come by next time. Gonna be talking about The Usual Suspects and starting off a month of movies that I have not seen. But until then, as always, be kind and rewind.